What's up, guys? Back again to the subreddit where it's every entitled kid's birthday or they got good grades. It's r/EntitledParents. Today, I have 3 stories for you. First, we got an entitled mother who expects her coworkers to take her shifts just because she's a mom. Next, we have another entitled mother who's trying to take $1,000 worth of free trekking gear. And finally, we have an entitled dad who thinks he deserves his child's scholarship for himself. And of course, we've got our bonus, and today we've got a subscriber recommended subreddit. Speaking of which, if you guys want to see a subreddit featured on the bonus, make sure to leave it in the comments below, and I'll see if we can't get to it. Alright, enough talk, let's get into the good stuff. See you in a bit. EM hasn't worked in 4 months due to maternity, and is surprised when she gets no sympathy coming back. Not sure if this applies, but here it goes. Sorry if it's a little long. TLDR at the bottom. Backstory. Governor gave everyone 8 weeks maternity leave. EM took extra. Before EM left for maternity leave, she would leave about 2 hours into her shift to meet clients who routinely skipped out on the meetings. She would brag to everyone, including our supervisor, that she would just go home afterwards because she hated working. P.S. She's the most recent hire. Fortunately and unfortunately, because we work for the state, it's incredibly difficult to get fired, so there wasn't much our supervisor could do about it. Everyone was complaining because we're in a small office and we needed all the help we could get. I came up with what I thought was an elegant solution. Everyone would take a Friday that they were required to be in the office so that everyone could potentially have a Friday off. Everyone liked the idea, especially our supervisor, and it became a thing. EM did not. She complained because she had kids and activities to do with them on Friday. Everyone in the office except for me and one other have children, so this didn't fly. When the calendar is passed around for everyone to take a Friday, EM schedules herself for one Friday right in the middle of her maternity leave. Supervisor saw and had her change, so she was required to work the Friday after she got back from her maternity leave. From the time EM was in her 2nd trimester, she continually reminded everyone she was going to be out for 4 months maternity and not to bother her. She finally left for maternity, and our supervisor and I took over her case. EM got back last week and decided that she was going to take it easy. She refused to answer any of her calls or emails from clients, who then called me since I had been handling everything for 4 months. This week, she started her old stuff again by leaving after 2 hours to meet with clients. Today, Wednesday, EM realized that this was her first Friday that required her to be in office all day. She immediately scheduled as many clients as she could outside the office, claiming that our supervisor said that she really only needed to be there from 3 to 5. I would have believed her, if not for the fact that she had scheduled an hour-long meeting at 3:30 as well. EM then proceeds to complain to me that it's not fair since she just got back and she has to catch up on so much. EM said that she looked at everyone else's calendar and they're in the office, so she shouldn't have to stay on Friday. I told her maybe send an email around to see if someone will switch with her. Instead, EM decides to corner our coworkers one by one to try and convince them to take Friday because one of her EKs, entitled kids, is having karate lessons at 4:30 and she really doesn't want to miss it. EM really wanted it sorted out because she's also thinking of taking tomorrow off. P.S. EM also mentioned that she's thinking of having a 4th because she really likes having so much time off. TLDR. EM takes 4 months off, then doesn't want to work her required in-office day when she gets back. EM is surprised to find no one is sympathetic. Why did she get 16 weeks or 4 months maternity leave if she was only allowed 8 weeks? Shouldn't she have gotten in trouble or fired or something for that? Entitled mom tries to purchase $1,000+ in outdoor equipment. Tells me she doesn't need to pay. Hey, my first post here, and this story isn't as crazy as some of the stuff on this sub, but it's one of the most entitled displays I'd ever seen in public. A few years back, I worked at an independent outdoor supply store. We were attached to a very popular camp that specialized in some heavy-duty trekking for use. That being the case, we carried a full range of gear, from about mid-range to very high-end. My boss was an angel. She personally made sure everything we sold in the store was quality and would last on the trails. 90% of the trekkers that we worked with used equipment provided by the camp. As we were a fairly remote location, and schlepping your gear out to where we were wasn't easy. Now, the season that I'm working saw some extremely bad flooding. Many of the trekking groups lost all their equipment. Now, my boss, being an absolute sweetheart, offered to give gear away for free to groups that lost their gear so they could continue their treks. Honestly, everyone was super cool about it, except entitled mother, EM. This was the first time we saw her. She had just pulled away from the trail. Her son was alright, and at that point, EM was too. She just wanted to get some gear and hit the trail again. The problem started when EM had gotten off the trail and was ready to go home. I was working the register at that shift. EM, we had the reimbursement for flood damages. We don't need to pay. I ring her up. Her total is in excess of $1,000. Me, obviously. Ma'am, we reimbursed your gear when you were pulled away from the trail. I'm gonna need to check with the manager to make sure this is okay. Now, I was being diplomatic and going through the motions. What she was asking for was outrageous. She had a $600 tent and 3 pairs of hiking boots in her cart, among other things. We really pride ourselves on good service, so an outright no was out of the question. EM, it's okay. I remember you from before. You were nice and rang us up last time. I'm from the trek that lost our gear in the flood. You remember, right? We don't need to pay. There's just a few things we forgot to get reimbursed last time. Her previous reimbursement was about $500, which is pretty standard for what she apparently lost. Me, ma'am, your total is over $1,000. I'm really gonna need to check with my manager. Please, wait right here. At this point, my friend F, who was the manager, happened to walk over. F, hey, why don't I take this from here? What's the problem? EM, I'm getting this reimbursed. I don't need to pay. My son needs this gear. F, well ma'am, actually you do. You rang up a bill of over $500 last reimbursement. You don't get 2 reimbursements. Also, I have it on record that you rented a tent, so you don't get a new tent and 3 pairs of boots. EM, we had a tent we weren't going to use in our bag. We lost it in the flood. My son needs this equipment or else we won't be able to camp at home. F, okay ma'am, we have some fine $150 tents. If you opt for one of those, we might be able to swing the reimbursement. One of our policies is that it was better to make an exception for nasty customers than to lose a reputation for great service. Unfortunately, that meant jerks often got what they wanted. EM, no, we want this one. F, okay, if you're not willing to pay, you can put back everything in your cart. EM, this is hands down the worst service I have ever received. We will be reporting all of you and writing this up. This is unacceptable. F, fine then ma'am. Would you like to pay by cash or card? Or would you like to put the gear back? EM grabbed her kid and stormed out. Apparently, my friend saw her exchange with me play out and was fed up with her because she had given him some trouble when she had walked in. There wasn't any catastrophic instant karma, but boy was it cathartic to tell her the cold, hard truth. I absolutely hate people like this who go for a generally more vulnerable employees and try and get what they want quickly before getting a manager involved. These people are absolute scum, and not saying our OP was, but if he was a little weak-willed and just wanted to get rid of the situation and actually went along with what they said, they could have lost their job. ED thinks he's entitled to his daughter's scholarship money. I remember a talk I had with my grandma years ago, and it just made me hate everything about her son, my dad. Backstory: my dad was an absentee parent, and whenever he visited home, he emotionally, physically, and mentally abused me. This one is really blurry to me. It happened to me when I was in 6th grade, or maybe high school. Wow, that's a pretty big jump. I suppress this memory in the back of my mind because it's the reason I have PTSD. To the story. So, when I was around 11 to 13 years old, I found out that my dad, despite having no monetary issues, never paid for my schooling. Everything from school uniform, tuition fees, my allowance, school books, etc. was paid for by my grandma. And at that point, he was now more open to wishing I was no longer born. He also said one time that he wished that he killed me when I was just a baby. Great father, I know. So when I was 12 and just got to high school, my school offered scholarships to the students. I was one of the students who got part of the scholarships, getting 10 to 15,000 pesos after every school year. Jerkman found out about it. He went home and asked my grandma about it. Apparently, my grandma was saving my scholarship money so that I had money for college. I never got the money after my grandma died, but that's a whole different story. I was in my room when they were talking. I always locked myself in my room whenever Jerkman was home. After a while, I heard him shouting at my grandma. It scared me. Her doctor had told her not to be stressed. But of course, Jerkman never did care. He was shouting and telling her that he deserved to be handed my money. My grandma wasn't born yesterday though, and knew that giving my dad the money will be a mistake. So she said no once more. It ended with him shouting and screaming about how he's my dad and he should be the one handling my money. He then threatened my grandma when she wouldn't budge. His exact dialogue: "I will burn down this house and make sure you die in it. You are selfish." He then proceeds to actually throw my stuff at my door. It never ended good, to be honest. I'm 22 now, and whenever I hear loud crashes near me, I just feel so terrified thinking my, now dead, dad would be breaking down my door and beating me up again. But hey, at least he's out of my life now. For good. Man, that was just a depressing ending. I was really hoping for some bright silver lining at the end. Well, I take that back. The dad died when the kid was only 22, so I guess that is a win at the end to some degree. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed those last few stories. Now let's switch gears like usual and head right to the bonus, which today is actually going to be a request. We're going to do r/jokes. Let's get into it. My grandfather died, and I inherited some of his clothes. He was a farmer, and he loved getting dressed up every year for the local fair and exhibiting some of his prized chickens. For this occasion, my grandmother would spend the entire year searching through thrift shops, looking for silly neckties for him to wear, and she loved finding the ones with chickens on them. After a few decades of this, my grandfather had amassed several dozen neckties, each with cartoon images of chickens flying around, laying eggs, and doing other chicken things. I always complimented him on his newest addition to his collection. When he died a couple years ago, he bequeathed them to me in his will. When my grandmother handed me the bag full of them, my eyes welled with tears, and I smiled, thinking about my grandfather, looking in the mirror and straightening his tie. Why am I telling you all of this backstory? Because the last time I tried to tell someone and didn't give them context, they thought it was weird that I was so excited about inheriting my dead grandfather's hentai collection. Hey, the best jokes are the long game jokes. I like it. Call me racist if you want, but the southern border is a sea of violence, corruption, stupidity, and I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I just thank my lucky stars to live in Canada. How dare you hate on freedom? Bullets are quite weird. They only do their job after they're fired. Yeah, and you better stand back as well, because they just might go off on you. Oh wait, I got a better one. If they fire me, I'm gonna kill someone. Quote, a bullet probably. And that is 100% original Fubier content, all me, I'm the best. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed today's episode of r/entitled parents. I'll see you for the next one. Peace out.